Hello, everybody, and welcome to our podcast. Welcome to the second episode of the Dlalisa Moyeni podcast. Hey, Squenglish. It is, of course, a pleasure to be here, guys, and to form this community with you guys. We are so excited and happy to be here. Yes, can I just say, I saw the comments, I saw the subscriptions going up. Thank you so much, guys, to everyone who has gone onto our podcast, our YouTube channel, and also just subscribed to it. We really do appreciate you and are happy to be forming this community once again with you guys. Remember, guys, we are all about the boy child. We are all about raising the boy child from the hood that we are from, which is Mamelodi, but obviously looking to extend even further as time goes on. So we are here on a weekly basis with different people, experts, non-experts, people who've been through it, single mothers, single fathers as well, who've been in this hood, parenthood, and just trying to raise their children as best as they can. Having said that, today I am joined by Siphiwe, Calvin Nhlangoti. I did say that VIN number, meaning I'm going to call him by his names, all of them.
Sure.
So yeah, he's joining us today. He's an educator, he's a visionary, he's a community leader. He's doing a lot, right? Ensuring that, the youth in particular, he did say that he's passionate about the youth and he wants to see them moving forward. So he's joining us today and he's going to share with us how, he has been moving in his own space, ensuring that he turns the lives of our youth people around. So let us take this time to welcome him. Thank you so much, Siphiwe, for joining us.
Thank you for the invite, Lefentse.
Sure, man. Thank you
so
for
much.
joining us and for doing the work that you do with the youth, with the young boys. Well, it's not only boys with you, but of course they are part and parcel of our community.
Definitely.
But before we go there, I know something that is very interesting about you.
Okay, let's hear it.
You are a part of 3.
Sure.
And Lili Triso le Magents.
That's true.
I've always fathomed, I've always thought how it is to be, you're not even a twin, you're a triplet.
I'm a triplet.
How do we refer to you guys? How do we call it?
We are triplets.
Triplets,
yeah,
right?
Mawele, yeah.
Amawele is 2, or it even goes to 3.
I think it does go to
Forgive
3.
me, I'm not Zulu.
Yeah.
All right. So you are a part of 3.
Sure.
How was that growing up as gents? Obviously, you can never tell us about before being born, being in your mother's, womb, all of that. But tell us about you growing up as a part of 3.
Okay. No, Lefentse, firstly, thank you so much for the invite. We really appreciate it. So I'm the third born of a set of 3. We were raised by a single mother, Sister Mbani. She did a lot for us to be where we are, to be the people that we are. Growing up, it was nice because we didn't need friends, to start with. We were friends, so the 3 of us already were a company, So we had a very nice upbringing. We had our struggles, we had our fights, but we always kept unity amongst ourselves because I think that's one thing that our mother instilled in us to say we need to unite during all circumstances, irrespective of whether we are fighting or what. We had a way of finding, a way to resolve our issues. So we played soccer together, and then we grew up. Then interest changed.
Yeah.
One is a chef, the other one is into marketing, and I took community development as a teacher and all the work that I do. But ultimately, growing up was a nice experience.
Sure.
Yeah, it was a nice experience.
I can imagine, guys, being a part of 3. I mean, that's very unique.
Sure.
Sure. But also, is it true what they say? Do you feel when the other guy is it true?
It's true. It's true. There's just something. I don't know if it's in the spirit or it's the body, but there's just a feeling of being unsettled, when the other one is not fine. And when you get that feeling, you know that I need to check on my siblings if everyone is fine, you know. I remember there was a time Samuel was very, very sick, and all of us, it was like we are in that route with him.
And you were just as sick, or you felt?
Yeah, it felt somehow. There's that feeling. You can't explain, but you can feel it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Y'all have got something special.
Yeah.
You guys have really something special. And how was it being raised by your mom, like you're saying, a single parent?
Sure.
Your mother, she had to be both mama le papa ka muntung. And she's raising boys.
Sure.
Bahaitso.
Sure.
She's raising boys. And I don't know, I'm a mom myself, and sometimes I cannot be papa.
Yeah.
Or, you know,
Yeah.
I can only try to be papa, but I can't necessarily be in the body
Sure.
of a man and depict what I'm trying to depict to my sons.
Sure.
How was that?
Yeah, you know what? It was challenging. You know, my mom had to step up on a lot of things, especially when you get into teenagehood, when you are starting to develop. A lot of explanations needed to take place. I remember there was one incident. We had a packet of chippies in one of our drawers, and she thought it's condoms.
Oh, wow.
So the talk had to come in now, and it was uncomfortable. We had to
Yeah.
sit and listen to her to say, okay.
How did she even present that?
Yeah, it was very difficult, I must say.
Oh my gosh. Shout
But
out
she
to
did
Mama.
that. She had to step up on a lot of incidences. But we are raised by a very strong woman, you know. So that gap, yeah, papa, we could feel it because obviously society is there. You know, you see other kids having experiences with their fathers, but when you get home and mama is there, it somehow it
soothes you.
soothes you to say, no, what, it's fine. We don't have it all, but she steps up a lot.
Wow.
So yeah, I must give it to her that she did a lot in ensuring that the gap of her father, we don't necessarily feel it. But we had an on and off relationship with our father. Sabelo was mostly close to him. I think I could say they had a relationship because even in the on and off, but Sabelo would constantly,
Try to
reach
reach out
out
to
and all
him,
that.
yeah.
But me and Sakile, I don't know, we just accepted that it's like that, and yeah, we just relied on what Mama gave us, and when the relationship was on, we had to take what
Wow.
it
What
was
was dished out
presented,
at the
and when
time.
it's off, it's also fine because it's a norm now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now that is something else. Tell me how that affected you growing up with the on and off
Sure.
situation of you and your father. Was it easy? Did it affect you in any way in terms of your education? Tell us a little bit about that.
It wasn't easy, I must say. It wasn't easy. But I think at a very young age, I accepted that this is the nature of the relationship that we have. And in terms of academics and how I perform, I didn't necessarily affect me because I relied more on the side of mama, So it's just that here and there you would want the love of the father. You want someone to protect you,
Of
someone to
course.
guide you, to teach you how to communicate, how to communicate with a woman. Those simple basic things.
Which are very important,
Are
by
very,
the
very
way,
important
by the
because
way.
when you grow up, you then realize that there is a gap that was
Yeah.
left. How you then communicate, how you express your emotions, it's different because there was no guidance, So now you are relying on a trial and error, and hence maybe most gens don't want to open up, especially if you didn't have that relationship with the father, because how do I open up? How do I allow myself to be vulnerable? Because ultimately, one thing that I know is that I need to protect myself. And my guards are always up.
Eish.
So yeah, I think that's where it affected. To say there was no one to give that sort of guidance,
Yeah.
those teachings.
Was there no one altogether, or maybe no one malume Ola who would maybe step in now and again? When you would get
Yeah.
rough and try to, bring you guys back in check.
Yeah, Malume is there. Malume has always been there, and I think we were not necessarily close when we were that young, but as we got into those ages, Malume really did play his role, I must say.
Yeah.
as and when there were issues, Malume would take the lead to ensure that he brings us back, he guides us, you know. So, but it's not the same, I must say. It's not the same as what you'd get from your immediate parent, you know, because Malume has his own family that he needs to go
Of
back to.
course.
But I must give it to him that he did his best.
Sure.
Yeah.
He did try to
Yeah.
move in. Let's move on a little bit now that I know you're a father.
Sure.
You're a husband yourself, you
Sure.
know, and you take those roles very seriously. But before we get to them, you moved into the education space.
Sure.
How did you make that decision? Straight up, perhaps after matric, or when you decided, or when it was time rather for you to get into tertiary? How did you make that decision?
You know, getting into the education space, I have a very interesting story because I grew up wanting to be a lawyer, you know. I wanted to be a lawyer, I wanted to study LLB. And then life happened, you know. After matric, we couldn't directly go to varsity because you understand, it's triplets. You need to
Yo.
take all of them to higher institution.
Wait,
And
in between all of you guys,
Sure. there was one also listening Moraho.
yeah.
Right, but he quickly found his way and went into TVET college.
Okay.
So there were also fees there, you know.
There are fees
so
there.
yeah, so we were all done. Now we needed to advance into higher education. We took a gap year, obviously.
All
because,
three of you.
Yeah, but Sakile was continuing that time because
Okay.
he's in Ogo TVET. Me and Samuel took a gap year. Then the next year, okay, during that gap year, I think there was a revival of some sort. And I was wearing this jacket. We were singing, we were in the worship team, yeah. And then this guy Siso comes to me and says, you know, you look like a teacher. And that time I didn't even know what I'm going to study for.
Yeah.
After those words, and I was like, man, let me just give this thing a try. Let me just go and apply
Yeah.
and see if I can do this teaching thing. Fast forward, we get accepted. I get into, you know, institution, higher institution. I learn, and I fall in love into this thing. To say, okay, this is part of what I want to do. I want to impart knowledge. I love imparting knowledge.
Sure.
You know, I love ensuring that Mwana gets to experience, you know, a different feel in class, because we have kids who are gifted differently, you know, and looking at our education system and looking at how we grew up, how teachers used to teach, the methodologies that they used
That
to
they
apply.
used, yeah.
I wanted to change that to say, man, we can do better.
It's not all of us, but that method.
And it's not all kids
True.
who are academics. You know, there are kids that we need to identify in the classroom, but nurture them outside because they might be gifted in sports, arts, culture. So we need to then have programs that speaks to that.
Sure.
Hence, I'm very big on that to say, you know, we need to identify these kids and nurture them, ensure that they get to reach their full potential, because not all kids are academic.
True that. Let me go back to the gap year.
Sure.
And I'd love for you to perhaps also speak to someone who's in a gap year
Sure.
currently. What was your mindset at the time? What was going through? You did mention just now, Hore, one of the things that you felt or that you were going through was that you didn't know what you were going to study.
Yes.
But someone came to you and said, you look like a teacher. But it's not everyone
Yeah.
who would have someone coming to them and say, you look like a lawyer, or you
Yes.
look like a psychologist, or you look like a, you know, a photographer, whatever the case might be.
True.
Someone who's at home who just took a gap year and they're like, I don't know what I'm going to study. I don't know what I'm going to do. If anything, even like their mental state is all over the place, feeling like they're not worthy.
Sure.
The fees or the expectations, the fees, it's way above them. You know, it's stifling them. They don't know how they're going to make ends meet.
Sure.
What would you say to them? And maybe perhaps before we get to that, talk us through how you felt at that time you were in a gap year.
Okay, so during that time, a gap year, I remember I took one job, I would fill the gas. Ne? So I used to refill the gas, and all that. I decided to take a book, Purpose Driven Life, you know, and I was not really big on study or on reading, but I was like, I'm bored, let me just read this book.
That's funny because
Yeah.
looking at where you're at now.
Exactly. So yeah, I took that book and I read that book, and I think that's where I found purpose, you know. And I think when you're at home and you are in that space, You need to find purpose. You need to, and purpose is not outside. Purpose is within. You know, it's innate. When we are built, when a decision was taken that Lefentse will be made, Lefentse was made with that purpose, with
it
that
was
talent. It was already
there.
inside Lefentse. It's just that we then get to a society that confuses us, and we are unable to tap to self, innate, you know. And also you need to change your self concept when you are in that space, because how you then look at yourself and how you then perceive yourself, it then speaks to the thoughts that you'll have, right? So if your self concept speaks more on, I really need to tap into my potential, I need to tap into my purpose, tap into my talents, you know, irrespective of what society says, because also we go with what is popular. You want to be a photographer, but there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
You can be the best photographer that has ever, you know, been. So it's just about you tapping into that, you know. Some of us were fortunate. We were told. I was frustrated, but I was told. And it clicked to say, no, but you know what? This thing might be who you are. And judging by where I am, I like to talk. And this is how I was made. But back then, it was not the case, because why you go teacher, when you go sokola, when you go 1, 2, 3, you know. So you then have to silence those voices and really look in yourself to say, what is my purpose? You know, why am I made? Why do I breathe? Because you can't just wake up, breathe for the sake of. There is a purpose that is in you, and you need to tap into that.
So do you now believe that you were born to be a teacher?
I was born to be a community development practitioner.
Okay.
Teaching will.
It's part
yeah,
of.
it's part of that, because like I deal with a lot of things that deals with community. In a nutshell, I am born to serve.
You're born to serve.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Now that we also know that you are part of Siyakha Youth Foundation, which
Sure.
is where you are a co-founder. How did that come about? How was Siyakha born?
So Siaka was born in 2018. Myself and a good brother, we had a vision to say we want to create a platform where we feed, we educate, and clothe the community, because those were the three things that we grew up struggling with.
Okay.
You know,
I was about to say no
yeah,
boning.
yes.
Yeah.
So to feed, clothe, and educate the community, those were the core, you know, vision that we had about Siaka. Then we started Siaka, and in that Siaka grew, and in it growing, we then had Fundanati, which deals with literacy. We have our community outreach that deals with your food parcels. You know, we donate school shoes, we donate clothes. You know, we kept to the vision to say we want to ensure that when a child goes to school, they go with dignity. You know, some of our kids, they don't perform because of how they come, their state of being. It affects their performance, because you know how kids are, you know. So we didn't want a case where we have access to school shoes and there's a child Otamang without come out, you know. So that's the purpose of our community outreach programs. Then we have our youth empowerment and mentorship, where also the boy child plays a huge role in our programs with Essence of Manhood. There we do your mentorship programs. We speak to the boy child. We donate dignity packs with toiletries and so on. Then we also have the parent girl that deals with the girl child. But in a nutshell, then Siaka was created to clothe, feed, and, you know, educate our society. Sure.
All right. Talking to the boy child, what are the challenges that you come across when you have your mentorship programs?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. One, I would say, it's, you know, societal expectations and societal norms. A boy child grows up with this thing out of Indotaikali. So there was a boy child that witnessed, you know, his father being killed, and he started having behavioral issues at school. You know, then even how we responded to him, we did not understand. So
Like, was it an immediate shift?
it was an immediate shift. Like this thing happened over the weekend. Monday, that boy started changing.
Had you known what was going on as teachers?
We didn't
or as
have an
educators?
idea.
Okay.
The parents did come to say there was a funeral and those proceedings took place. When he came back, started changing. I gave myself time, because I remember we were on the verge of saying, you know what, he must leave because of how he was behaving. I sat down with him and I just asked him, what's wrong? And he started crying,
Ish.
And I could see that this is deeper than what we thought. We spoke quite lengthy, and then I got to understand, Kore, this is the issue and this is what he's facing. And no one was listening at that time.
Yeah.
We were all responding because of how he's reacting, but he was just looking for
We
attention.
were all just so quick to want to reprimand this
Yes.
behavior.
He was just looking for attention, After that talk, got close to him, and I started mentoring him, so that he can be better, because I had to make sure that he understands that as much as you have witnessed this, it doesn't now change who you are. Doesn't mean
Wow,
that
I love
now
that.
you need to change and become what those people are, because there was that anger to say, I want to,
Yeah.
because I was there. I
saw
what
what
happened. But then I just spoke to him. I just gave him time. I gave him love. I remember towards the end of the year, he even bought me some ties to say thank you. But he changed. His behavior changed. He was even smoking at that time. He stopped smoking. It was just a cry for attention. And a lot of times we miss those signs. We miss them because we also have something that we need to achieve. There are mandates, there are goals that are set
Yeah.
to say you need to achieve 1, 2, 3. So if this child is going to stand on my way, I need to reprimand. I need to, But sometimes they are just crying out for help.
How often do we have a setting in schools where there's counseling?
I wish I could say there was a time like that. We don't have that at all. The only counseling that a child would get is from an educator. And that is not too often because an educator has a mandate that they need to fulfill, So it then becomes difficult. It's one of those cases where it's now severe that you step in and
Like
try
you
to,
did with
like I
this
did
young
with
boy,
him.
yeah.
You step in to just try and cancel and intervene. But if we had those things in place within our schools, a lot of these issues wouldn't be taking place because we would have someone that is relevant
Yeah.
and that is qualified to even do
Exactly,
that.
to do it properly,
to do it
because you're
proper.
causing,
Exactly.
you want to help, but at times perhaps you don't have the right tools.
You don't have the right tools. Fortunately, I did a bit of psychology, so
Yeah.
it helps me here and there, but it's not enough, I must say. It's not enough. So if only we had those platforms, it would really help our schooling system.
So what other things do you feel could have been there or should be there actually within a school setting from the community, help coming from the community, from the parents, from government? What more help do you think should be there within school settings for yourselves as educators as well as the students as well?
Sure. I think looking at what you're saying now, this thing can start at policy level. We have kids who learn differently. Hence, we have different learning styles.
Sure.
And if you look at a boy child is a very active child. They are hyperactive. They want to play naturally. So you then need to have like your learning styles that cater to that. Learning styles that they need to learn through play. They need to learn through visual. We lack those resources. For the longest of time, I've been trying to have a media room because I wanted to introduce the elements of teaching through PowerPoints, videos, and all that. But you struggle to have that in our schools. So if we can have, art rooms in our schools where kids can go and explore arts, you look at how they do art now. Just yesterday, they were doing some art project, and the educator had to go around trying to organize the resources, trying to improvise here and there. And I just looked at her and said, if we didn't have such teachers, these kids wouldn't be exposed to this level of art. So we need to tap into the other learning styles that are out there, not just do the traditional way of teaching, because yes, indeed, we need to finish our ATPs. We need to ensure that the kids get those skills, but we need resources for that.
Sure.
And if you don't have resources,
it becomes hard.
You just step back to, let's go to class, let's just do oral teaching, and then you just teach, you push the content, but you are leaving a lot of learners behind.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think in terms of the society, these organizations that are more of education, let's have more partnerships with them, the Department of Education, give them more access to the schools so that they can come and bring those resources, because we have organizations that have resources, but they don't have access to schools,
so that bureaucracy level,
it creates a problem.
Yeah.
A school that has a library and turns it into a storage breaks my heart, because you get there and there's just old books lying around and there's cleaning material and all that, but we come and say our kids can't read for meaning. How will they read if we don't give them the platform to do that? So one of the things that we are trying to do is to revive these school libraries. We are currently working with 2 schools. We are going there, cleaning the library. Yes, the material is old, but a book is a book.
Yes,
it's there. They still have that knowledge.
Exactly.
So if these libraries can be functional, we will then, eliminate the issue of kids reading for meaning, because they will have a platform to go and read. If we introduce learning through play, your robotics, your Legos, those are things that we need. We need to move with times. Our curriculum also needs to change. A curriculum that still wants to. I don't want to get into trouble. Let's just leave it there. Yeah.
I don't know if I'm getting into trouble, because the next question was, I can see you're getting frustrated. What are those things that frustrate you? But it's okay. I and I can see from you're answering they're not forthcoming.
They are not.
But in terms of parents as well, because they too have a responsibility. I get this a lot from my daughter's school to say, they would say, we are doing this and we need the help of you as parents at home to continue with what we have started. Or in actual fact, learning also starts from home.
From home, yes.
Right? And then the class setting, it's not foreign.
It's not something new.
It's not something new.
It's not something new.
Are you getting that from parents? Are you getting that help from parents to say, we also can help in this fashion as well?
Unfortunately, it's some parents that are able to help. And you understand, because the system, how it's created, I wouldn't say it gives them much allowance to be able to be involved. One, we are teaching a different curriculum. Most of these parents, they don't know the things we are teaching.
Hey,
so
I just come in? I heard earlier this morning on radio, they were talking, I think, about homework. And they were like, guys, we are struggling.
Yes.
We are struggling because we don't know how to help our kids.
And sometimes I don't really give much of homework, because it comes back empty. And you say, but what did your parents say? Mama araiti. So there must be a way where we close that gap in terms of parental involvement. And our parents also need to take the initiative, come to school, speak to the teacher. But what is really a problem here? It's the gap that exists in the knowledge that we are trying to impart into these kids. The curriculum itself, it's not relevant to the parents, they don't know it. So those homework comes back. So maybe if there are platforms where the parents themselves can also be taught some of this material, Also, maybe the parents need to extend themselves to research, to ensure that you understand what your child is being taught. But then that's I'm speaking from a point of privilege. There's a parent that does not have access to those things. So what do we say about them? So it's a tricky situation.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. What is leadership to you as a co-founder of Siyakha Youth Foundation? Because you are leading in a number of ways. You are
Sure.
leading as an educator. You are leading in front of communities. You know, you are leading as a husband, as a father as well. What does it mean to you?
Yeah, leadership to me, it's not a know-it-all approach for me. I try to lead, but also allow myself to be led in the process. Because as a leader, it doesn't mean you have all the knowledge. You know, as a leader, you need to be able to give people platforms to be able to tap to their potentials, and they help this thing that they're trying to build. Because I always say that my role is to give you the tools and ensure that you tap into those resources and you utilize them so that we can achieve the bigger picture. So I always try to lead, but also allow myself to be led in the
led.
process. You can't be an autocratic leader, you know, but also when you are a democratic leader, you cannot also open it up a lot because you want to preserve that which you want to achieve,
Of
you know.
course.
So for me, that is how I approach in terms of leadership, you know, listening and giving guidance, you know, ensuring that ultimately we will achieve that which we want to achieve.
I like what you're saying, that you are allowed to be led as well. You're
Sure.
not an autocratic leader. And being in the foundation phase, do you often find the young ones leading you at some point? Do you often find them correcting you? Do you often find your son coming through and saying, Papa?
It's not the case.
We don't do it like that.
You know, and for the kids, they love that. For them, it's like they've achieved. Just write the wrong date. Write 2024, and the whole class will be screaming to say, "Sir, it's 2025.
wrong."
It's wrong." And you allow that to happen because it means they have discovered something. For Bona, it's a discovery.
Their lights on.
Yes, to say,
Yeah.
you know what, at least I was able to correct, say. A lot of times they will come to say, but yesterday you said this about this, but today you're saying something different, you know. What is it, what is the answer? Pila. And you just allow them to also share their opinions, because that is what teaching is about. It's not about me being right. And I always tell my learners that I will not always be right, you know,
Yeah.
but mine is to give you the tools to also allow you to go and find the correct answers for yourselves, you know. So I take that correction. And my son started speaking English at the very, like, he's 3 years old. I think at 1 year he was already fluent speaking English.
Wow.
My English is
Hey,
it's political English because we had
It's here and
influence here
there.
and there. And lion and lion is two different things. And that's where the correction comes in.
Yeah.
The pronunciation, no, Papa, you don't say that. You say
Yeah.
this. And for me, I love it. I love it because it means your mind is active. Your mind can see that, no, but this is not how this is supposed to be. And that process for me is fascinating.
I absolutely love that. How is your parenting style as compared to that of your mom and Umalume, who stepped in now and again when
Sure.
you needed to? You had a touch and go relationship with your father, but what's it like with you and your son? You know, I think God works in mysterious ways.
Oh.
And you're given that opportunity to be a father. You're given that opportunity to be present
Sure.
as a father.
Yeah.
How's that like you?
Funny enough, we were talking about it as we were driving here to say, I'm given opportunity to be what I did not experience. And I've never experienced the love of the Father. But now I must love this young man and guide him, you know. And I must say it's a bit challenging here and there, but also I have my wife, you know, she steps in.
What are those challenges?
The communication, my mom was very strict because you are raising boys. You can't be, you know. I tend to be a little bit strict, and there must be understanding that this boy is still growing up.
Okay.
You know.
Yes, he's still
yeah. So
finding
there are certain things
himself.
that I would want him to be ahead, and he's not yet there.
Yeah.
You know. So you also how you communicate, how you show your love, your affection. My boy is very affectionate, and I think I'm learning to tap
Warm
into
up
that
to
because
that.
I was not that. Guys,
It
let's
was,
let's move.
go.
You know. So he's very affectionate.
Sure.
So I'm now tapping into that to say, let me understand his emotions, and when he's expressing them, let me try and communicate to say, communicate them better, and let's see how we move on. Yeah.
And what role does your then wife play in the circle of you and your
Yeah,
son?
she's very protective of my boy, but also I thank her because there's a lot of guidance that I receive from her in terms of how to communicate with him, how to handle him when he's like this, and he's like when he's throwing a tantrum, maybe he just wants to sleep and very busy, you know, and you just feel like this child is trying to annoy me. But there's then that thing to say no, but any Ajaki will come to me, railway, he'll go, but comes back to me again. So then my wife would then say, but you can see that he's affectionate. Just pick him up, just hold him, just hug him. And those things work, you know. You do that, 2 minutes, he's already playing, he's fine. He just wanted that love, you know. So yeah, I think that's how she comes in and just try to give that guidance.
And how has you being a father shaped your world? How has it changed
Sure.
you? The love that you have for your son.
Yeah.
You can't put it into words, but please
True.
try.
Yo, my son is everything. Like they know that, you know, that young man is yeah, he's everything. I love him with yeah, you know. I always say I was fortunate to spend the first 2 hours of his life. He was just with me because the mother was still, yeah. And those 2 hours changed my life because now I'm responsible for this person, you know, and this person is here. I need to love this person. I need to provide for this person. I need to protect and make sure that he grows up to become a man that I would want, you know, to see in the society. So, yeah, I think, I can never explain,
Yeah.
but he's close to my heart.
Of course.
Yeah.
And as he should.
Yeah.
As he should, as your son. What is that impartation that you as Siyakha Youth Foundation giving to boy children?
Sure.
What are you making them aware of as young men or young boys, where they are going, what their future looks like? Impartation from the programs that you give to them.
So from essence of manhood, you know, our main drive is to say, you are a man that lives in a society that has emotions, so know how to express them. You are a man that lives in a society that has strong women who are advancing, know how to live with them. You know, you are in a society where you are not a boss, you are part of the society, you know, and that's what we want. We are driving with our program to say, as a young man, allow yourself also to learn from your counterparts, you know, because women are advancing, women are smart, and you cannot be threatened and intimidated by that because you can learn a lot from that and also improve as a boy child, you know. So we instill a lot of that to say we don't want a case where you have come into contact with us, but tomorrow we find you as a stats for GBV. We can't have that, you know. And fortunately, you know, the boys that we are raising are doing quite well. You know, we have a boy, I just have to mention this one, at Rebanlaka, Mpendulo Zulu. Brilliant boy.
Exceptional.
Brilliant boy. We came into contact with Mpendulo from grade 4. He went through programs with us, Fundanachi programs, from spelling bee. He grew to public speaking. Very good public speaker. You know, just now, Rubanlaka was having their inauguration as a school of specialization. Bendulo was the MC. Bendulo just got to Rubanlaka this year. You know, grade 8 boy, he's taking over, and yeah, more is coming from that boy.
Wow.
Yeah, and we also have Ndumiso is from Niger, and he texted me the other day to say, you know what, thank you.
Oh, man.
Thank you, because coming into contact with you changed my life.
Sure.
So yeah, those are the things that we do.
How does that make you feel when you receive such appreciation to say, sir, you really have changed my life around.
Sure.
You've changed my life for the better. If it were not for you, I wouldn't be here, I would probably be in juvenile or something, or dead by the side of the road or under a bridge. But you were there
Sure.
as Siphiwe to change their lives around. How does that make you feel?
It's quite emotional for me, because for me, I get to be what I always wanted, a father figure, a someone that you can be vulnerable to,
Sure.
and know very well that you are going to get tools to advance, and it warms my heart. My heart gets full when I get those responses. But yeah, I think it's more of I'm trying to be what I yearned for. Yeah.
Going back to when you said you read that book in your gap year, Living Your Purpose,
Sure.
I think you're well within it.
Sure.
You are well within your purpose of, turning the tides around. There's so much that's happening in South Africa
True.
Concerning the boy child that I think a lot of men also need to step up to.
Sure.
And you are that one guy as well who's really turning things around to say, "Iseng ke le teng, iseng ke phela."
True. Yeah.
Things will turn around. There will be boys who will be great men, great fathers and
Sure.
husbands
Sure.
in South Africa. But having said that, what would be the call to the men out there, to the fathers out there, within our communities? Hona mo le sebeletsang ko teng as Siaka. Surely when the kids come in and out, they see them. Hona le ba bang maybe they're sitting by the corner doing whatever that they're doing. And it's not to say from that guy who's sitting in the corner, they could give a life lesson to the young boys. But from where you're standing, from where you're sitting, what more can men do gore ba goge bana ba bashimane closer to them, give them the life lessons?
Look, we need more male role models. I think a boy child lacks that, someone to look up to. So, to men, we need to understand that in order for us to have a nation, to build a nation, we need leaders. And that leadership that says, I want to impart tools in you that will ensure that tomorrow we don't have Stensa GBV. We don't have GBV as a pandemic, So it's a call to say, as men, let us step up to our roles, to be the heads, as our roles to ensure that when we see a child doing what is wrong, we are able to reprimand one, So many a times we fail to do that because we also find ourselves in the wrong. We also conduct ourselves in a manner that is not worthy of us saying to that child what they're doing is wrong. So it's a matter of changing our conduct in the society in a sense of how do we present ourselves as men in the society, Are you able to say, please stop what you are doing? And indeed, the child will stop because they can realize that there's something to learn in you. Or is it a matter of, but I just saw you doing 1, 2, 3. So why do you come and say,
me?
Yes, it's a monkey see, monkey do situation. And kids, they learn by looking at us. So we need to conduct ourselves in a manner that is worthy of us being leaders in the society.
Of course. Siphiwe, thank you so much for your time.
Sure.
We really appreciate it. I loved the sit down. There's so much that I learned from you. Continue shining. Keep shining. Keep changing the lives
Sure.
of young boys. Well, not only young boys, but girls as well. But we know that the mandate for now, it's boys, and to ensure that obviously the call that is upon their lives to be great men, to be great husbands and fathers is, brought through. And obviously, this will not happen by itself.
True.
It needs people such as yourself. It needs organizations such as Siaka that will ensure that this happens. So thank you so much, and continue shining. And we wish you all the best with Siaka as well. We wish you the best with your family. And yeah, man, continue doing the best.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
I really appreciate that.
All right. Well, this is where we leave it for today. It has been absolutely, absolutely lovely. Joined by Siphiwe Nhlangoti, who is an educator, who is a community leader, and just changing the narrative altogether. So that we all do it. I'll say it and I'll keep saying it. What it takes a village to raise a child. But until then, guys, please do stay tuned in right here. Remember to like and subscribe to our channel. Week in, week out, we will be in your faces. We will be here bringing you different people whom we'll be talking to ensure that we turn the narrative around, in South Africa. The responsibility so that we can have a better life and a better country. All right, from now, from myself, Lefentse, Masha, keep shining, and please continue being the best that you are.